and I pray.
Hi.
Now that I am waking up,
Hello.
I give respect to the realm of the ancestors. Let all good things come to me. Inner spirit, give me light.
And welcome. Pleasure to see you here, everyone. This is the Girl Hold My Hand crew. My name is Mariama Fai. I go by the name Empress Fire. And I'm starting to do this series as a documentation of my journey in Girl Hold My Hand and before I joined Girl Hold My Hand, but also to raise awareness on mental health and spirituality and education. Good morning, Grand Rising and Rich Rising. I don't know if you ladies were part of the Freedom Friday today, but it got me really emotional. This is my third live, and usually when I do this I am all over the place with my bell and everything, but today I got very emotional. And so the topic that I want to talk about today is question your thoughts and assumptions. And this is something that I personally struggle with. I struggle with my thinking, with the way that I think, with the way that I see the world, with the way that I see myself, right? I know that these are topics that a lot of people don't tackle, a lot of people don't want to talk about. For a long time, I have been on this journey of self-reflection and self-awareness, but I have never seen anybody who looks like me that talks about this topic until I came across Coach Stormy. And this is why I joined Girl Hold My Hand, because I wanted to be around women who can dig deep within themselves, who are aware of who they are, who are ready to elevate, to be on another level, to understand themselves, right? So I was born and raised in the Gambia, West Africa. I have been in the United States for about 12 years now, and I'm ready to be somewhere else. And you know, growing up, the people that I was around, my family and my parents, these are not conversations that we have. These are not things that come up. People don't talk about mental health. You don't talk about your feelings. You don't talk about what's going on with you, right? It's just like how we say that most men don't talk about their feelings because it is considered weakness. Well, that is not just for men. It goes for women as well, especially if you're born and raised in an environment that is masculine, that is man dominated, regardless of if there were a lot of men or not, right? So question your thoughts and assumptions. This is it's there to me, right? I don't want to cry about it, but I feel very emotional about that, because most times I hear people speaking, or I make a suggestion, or I make an advice, and just by the demeanor or by the tone of that person, I make assumptions. If you've read the 4 agreements, that's one of them. I probably should look that up, because it talked about it, right? Don't make assumptions. Let me look it up and read it now. 4 agreements. 4 agreements. Assumption. 4 agreement assumptions, right? That is also something that was very helpful for me to understand, that I assume things instead of asking questions. And they say that's number 3 of the 4 agreements. Don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. I'll break down this: to express what you really want. Now, you that is watching, I have to do this. You that is watching this video, whichever platform you are on watching me, take a moment and look at, when you were growing up, did you ever have the opportunity to how to call it, say what you want? Did you ever have the opportunity to express your feelings? as a child and up until today. How does it feel talking about what you want, expressing your feelings, telling people, hey, this is what I want and I don't want that? Communicating what is deep within yourself instead of assuming what the other person is thinking or what the other person wants to do. See, this is something I never did in my life. I've always assumed things because that's the way I was raised, right? Nobody said, oh, I'm sorry. They're texting me in our 1K generation group as part of the TLC community of people. Let's see. Right. Yeah, so I told them in our group, in our TLC group, that today I felt very emotional, and some of the ladies are texting me saying that maybe I picked up on their energy because they feel emotional as well. And so one of the reasons that I feel emotional is what I was talking about, right? Question your thoughts and assumptions. And I was reading the 4 agreements, and the third one is don't make assumptions. And to break it down, the first bullet point is find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want, especially if you were raised in a traumatizing environment, especially if you grew up with adverse childhood experiences. That is something that you 100% need to look up to, adverse childhood experiences, because I was raised with it. Adverse childhood experiences goes by numbers, how many numbers that you have that you've experienced in terms of abuse. I basically experienced everything that is a part of adverse childhood experiences, right? When I read it and look at the bulletins and the numbers that I had to pick, I have experienced every aspect of adverse childhood experiences. And so I was never able to say what I want. I'm doing better at it now that I am in Garo my hand, but you know, it is because I have done so much work, right? People call it shadow work or embracing the dark feminine, right? I have done so much of that work to be able to say, I am not taking that. This is what I want and I don't want that. So one of the issues of not being able to say what you want, to say what you mean, to say how you feel, it is because growing up, you never had the environment. There was never a safe environment for you to say, this is how I feel, this is what I want, or this is what I don't want. Maybe you were ostracized when you said what you want. Maybe nobody listened, right? Maybe whatever you did in your life as a child was never enough. And that brings in the idea of overthinking, right? I posted today in Girl Hold My Hand something about overthinking, and I was saying note to self and asking the ladies who relate to it. And it says, maybe you overthink so much because, one, you didn't grow up in a safe environment. So you overthink and you cannot say what you want. You took on adult duties way too early in life. I did up until very recently, not long ago. I had to cut off my family, and I say this because many a time I felt like I was the mother instead of the child. So I took on adult duties of having to soothe my mother, of having to tell people, explain myself, over-explain, overshare, for them to understand, to make them feel good, to make them feel safe. And at some point I just said, I am not doing this anymore. And that is the time that I began to be able to voice what I want, right? The third one said, you get hurt no matter how hard you try. I was that child. You were harshly judged for making mistakes. So there were no rooms for mistakes as a child growing up. For me, it was the same. It did not matter what I did. As a young child, I think that my parents, especially my mom and my grandmother, felt like I am supposed to know everything before I was 8. Right, so right now, as a mother, that is something that I have to 100% be aware of, so I don't do that to my child, right? I always say that I look around when I speak, so I'm getting used to looking straight to the camera, so bear with me as I practice this. So as a child growing up, right, even for you that is watching, how did it feel in your environment? Were you able to make mistakes? Were your mistakes celebrated? Right? Was making mistakes part of a learning curve? Were you learning? Were your parents, is the way we grew up? Yes, ma'am, it is the way we grew up, right? The people that are around us, when you make mistakes, do they stop to talk to you and explain to you, okay, you did that wrong, but this is the way to do it? Give you that opportunity to learn, to grow, to be bigger than yourself. Most of us don't have this. Most of us have never seen anybody do this. And mistakes are okay because we are not perfect. This is what brings the syndrome of perfectionism. Like, I am a perfectionist. I am a perfectionist, right? It is so difficult for me to feel good when I make a mistake, or to make a mistake and feel like, it's okay, I can grow. No, it has to be perfect. I am African from Angola. Yes, I am African. I am from the Gambia, West Africa, right? And so seeing that in my community, in my home, with the people that I grew up with, but also coming to America and seeing that there's not much of a difference in the world as a whole, regardless of your skin color, right? But I always want to channel my message for Africans. And I always say that no matter what language that you speak, if you relate and you understand this and you feel like you can translate, let's do that. Because I want to reach African women. Because even in spaces that I am in right now, I see a lot of African women are going through this. And our parents are not conscious enough to understand how hurtful this is and how this trauma, it's a cycle. They give it to us, we give it to our children, right? They got it from their grandparents, from their parents. So it's a generational thing that we have to stop. It stops from somebody. And for me, I said it's going to start with me in my family. And it was difficult to speak up because I couldn't tell my mother how I felt and what was going on. And when I tried to, she told me she wasn't interested to hear it. And that was the last time we spoke. That's about 2-3 years ago, right? So me even saying this, I know that one day it's going to get to her. I have no idea how she's going to take it. But let's go to the next bulletin. So making mistakes is absolutely fine. Me as a mom, I have to learn it now by reading my daughter children's books. Can you imagine? The next one is you had to figure out everything on your own. You had to figure out everything on your own. That's a powerful thing for me because I did, and I still remember it. I remember having to hustle my lunch money, having to put it together so I can buy maybe books that I wanted, right? Or clothes that I wanted to wear because there's an event about to happen. As a child, there's a party, there's a friend's party, there's somewhere I wanted to go, right? I was never that child whose mom will hold her by the hand and we go to a party or we go to events, and it was never like that. I had to figure out every single thing, right? So I always have to bring it back to the topic. Don't make assumptions. Question your thoughts and your assumptions. I was that person. I was also always assuming things, and that brings overthinking, and that brings having to figure everything out as a child. I'm telling you, everything in my childhood, I had to figure out by myself because my mom couldn't help me. Most of the times my father was away, right? Speaking to him always brought me relief, but he was never open, right? If we take it back to don't make assumptions. Where did I put don't make assumptions? Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. My father never expressed what he wanted. He didn't express how he felt, right? If you're looking at our parents, they will never understand us. They will never understand us. They will never understand us until we break that cycle and be like, you know, something has to change. Because I know I had to do that. I had to tell my mom, and then she sent my uncle, and I told my uncle, listen, something has to change. It has to change. Like, I cannot do this anymore. And it doesn't matter, because people say it's in the Bible, it's in the Quran, you have to honor your parents, honor your mom, honor your father, yes, I honor them. I love them. I am very grateful that they brought me into this world. But I am a human being. I'm not just their child. I am a human being. I change, right? I have a mind. I have a brain. So if you want me to listen to you, or if I have to listen to you and understand what you're saying, I would expect you as my parent to understand that. The same circle. African parents and African, it doesn't matter where you are, African on the continent, African in the Caribbean, because I've lived with Caribbeans and I've seen the same thing, right? African Americans, well, the ones that identify as Africans and are going back to their ancestral lineage, it is there too. It is the generational course, the generational thing, right? So you have to see it if you want to break that cycle. And there's always that one person in the family who breaks that cycle. The last one is, and maybe you overthink so much because you were made to feel you weren't enough. You were made to feel you weren't enough. That brings the assumptions, right? The thinking, the overthinking, the cycle of negative thoughts. I know, I'll tell you, I know growing up, it doesn't matter what I did, it was not enough. It didn't matter what I did, it was not enough for my mom. I don't know how she took it, but for me personally, that's how I saw it. It did not matter what I did. I wasn't an A student because I never cared about grades. I didn't know it then until now that I completed college, that I realized, oh, I love learning, but I didn't care about the grade system. But I've always been between the A's and the B's, the A's and the B's, the lowest C, the A's and the B's and the C's. That was never ever enough for my mother. I could scrub myself clean, put on makeup and everything. It wasn't enough for her, right? As a child, I was in healthy relationships. I dated good men that even as a child, I knew personally that these men loved me. To the point, as a child, I was always like, wow, this is how people love. Why do these men love me? I can remember 2 of head now who absolutely, but guess what? They were not enough for my mother. She broke those relationships. The last one that was broken, that was the beginning of my life completely falling apart. Completely falling apart from relationships, from mental, from health, right? From physical. All of it just broke completely apart because I knew 100% that these were good men. These were men that I could grow old with, but they were not enough for my mother. So you that is watching this, you have to look at that. If nothing around you feels enough for you, forget everybody else, because I was that person. Nothing was enough. No one was enough. Nothing I did for myself was enough. I didn't feel that I was enough. And the reason for that I never felt that I was enough and nobody was enough, the men I was dating were not enough, is because when I was growing up, in my family, nothing was enough for them. My grandmother, maybe, God rest her soul, I love her, she is my ancestor now. Hey Queen, hey Sammy, I have to say, I am happy for you that what you wanted is going to happen, and you have a place that you can start your business. And I also want to say thank you so much for speaking up that day during Freedom Friday. I will remind you of this every single time, because that did something to me. I was like, I know how she is feeling. I can speak like that, but I also know that feeling. And so I am so happy that we are in the same group and we are going to make this money together, my love. And one day we will all sit together and talk about our experiences and what we went through and the millions we've been able to make. I just wanted to tell you that. It's one of the reasons that I'm so emotional today, because I watched the Freedom Friday and it just triggered something in me, which is why I brought this topic that I wanted to talk about. Right? And the topic is question your thoughts and your assumptions, right? I love you how you're sharing your story about your upbringing. Yeah, it's go time, grow time. Yes, ma'am. It is. We have to talk about it, because we have to break the generational curses. We have to do it for our family. We have to do it for our children. And we have to change. It's just like what Coach says, right? Change before it is time to change. This is something that I have to talk about before it is time to actually talk about it, right? And so going back to what I was saying, which is not feeling enough. You maybe you overthink so much because you were made to feel you aren't good enough. That's powerful to look at, because if you as a child, especially from 0 to 8 years old, if your parents made you feel that you were not good enough, regardless of what you did, no matter what you did, it wasn't enough. What you said, it wasn't enough. Let me tell you, I used to clean our house back then. We had a home, a huge, we call it compound, a huge compound. I would clean and mop and feel so good about myself and think, oh, look what I did. And guess what? My mom or they will send the maid, the housekeeper, to come back and clean what I clean. And I will get screamed at. I was never celebrated. I never felt celebrated growing up. So you that is watching me, look at that in your life. What do you feel that's not enough? Do you feel that what you're doing is not enough? Do you feel like you always have to do more? You always have to be more, right? Being more and doing more is not bad until it hurts you. It hurts every aspect of your life. It's hurting the people that are around you, because you can't stop. You cannot be yourself. Everything has to be better, which is being a perfectionist, right? You want everything to be perfect. Aiming for perfect is good, because it's aiming higher, is wanting to be higher. Aiming for perfect is good, but that is steps, right? You learn, you get better, you make mistakes. These are all things that are normal. But if you've never felt enough in your life, then nothing is enough. Your husband is not enough. He has to be better. The man you're dating, they're not enough. They have to be better. Listen, I'm talking about my own story, because I was once married to a very quiet guy, very good person. But I brought in my father. So I married somebody who was emotionally unavailable, right? The person I married was just as emotionally unavailable as my own father. I couldn't communicate with him. I couldn't talk to him. I couldn't say what I felt. I didn't feel enough. I thought I was supposed to be somebody else in this marriage. So he was a photocopy of my father, because the way that I felt with him is the same way that I felt with my father, right? And so I hope he sees this video to know that I had to grow out of that. That of course, they say one bangle doesn't make noise. It takes two to tango, right? He was wrong, I was wrong, but on my part of the deal, I just wasn't healed enough to date or marry anybody because I didn't know who I was, right? So let me summarize that particular one before we go to the next one. And if you are in Girl Hold My Hand, I have this posted there, and it says maybe you overthink so much because you didn't grow up in a safe environment. You took on adult duties way too early in life. You get hurt no matter how hard you try. You were harshly judged for making mistakes. You had to figure out everything on your own. You were made to feel you aren't enough. These are real things that go on. These are real things that go on. But many a time, in African communities, in African American communities, in Caribbean communities, in any community that looks like me, mental health, right? Our mental health and mental well-being is seen as weakness. That's why I believe, and this is my opinion, our men are the way that they are, and we put labels on them. Our women are the way that they are, and we put labels on them. But we don't look deep down, the roots from the beginning, from 0, from 1, from 2, from 3. What did they go through? How were they raised? Who said what to them? What are the voices in their head? Let me go to the next point, right? Which is communicate with others. And I'm talking about don't make assumptions, the 4 agreements. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama, chaos, and drama. This one is heavy for me. Facts, yes, Sammy, this one is heavy for me. Let me take my Delgado coffee. This one is heavy for me. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. I am doing this now, right? Because I didn't know that I was the nice girl. I have never seen myself as the nice girl. I have never considered myself as a nice girl, right? You know, the hood but holy, ratchet but cute. That I saw myself chaotic, drama, all over the place. But what I didn't know was that underneath, I was what is considered the nice girl. You wanted everybody to like you, right? It's like listening to Coach yesterday when Coach Stormy yesterday when she was getting ready on her live for the Detroit event, and she was saying, I used to be a nice girl, but I am not nice anymore. And I'm like, you used to be a nice girl. Okay, let's go. Because I was that person. I was a nice girl. Because growing up, that's how I was raised. Nobody told me you have to be nice. It was never communicated like that. But the way that I was taught to, the way that I was I was made to feel, the way that people communicated with me, right? I was the intellectual in the family. But what my parents didn't know, that they never knew, was that I resorted to education and reading. Oh my God, I could read. I used to read one novel, this thick, in one day, because it was an escape for me. People hear me speak and they say, oh my God, you're English. And I'm thinking, I don't know. But education, school, reading was an escape for me. So I was the intellectual of the family, and everybody was always like, oh, Yama loves to learn. Oh, she's always learning. Oh, she's the best. whatever they do in somebody who is learning the European everything. Like, so I ingested books. I was a book nerd. Books. To this day, I have 2 bookshelves filled with books. So that was always my escape. Now, what I didn't know that, what that infused in me was the nice girl syndrome. The princess syndrome, right? The queen syndrome, and not the princess and the queen that we talk about today, especially in our communities when we are growing, right? But the dormant, feminine, fragile, doormat, walk all over me, nice girl, even though I didn't know I was that person. And the reason I was that is because I could never communicate how I felt for people to understand what was going on, so it didn't bring drama. So I always assumed that people knew how I felt, and people knew what to do, and people knew what to do, basically. I always assumed that. That is never a good idea. Majority of my relationships, romantic and friendships, that broke down was because of these issues. Because I assumed if you're my friend, you know how to be a friend. But then I didn't know how to be a friend, right? If we were dating in a relationship or when I was married, I assumed they knew better. But honey, I didn't know better. I couldn't communicate, right? Because I have never seen anybody communicate. Like I always say, I've never seen anybody who looks like me who communicates the way that Coach Stormy communicates. And half of everything that she talks about is something I knew, is something I learned, is something I read about. One of her lives, I was telling her, I have read so much about mastermind. Like I memorized things about mastermind groups, but I have never seen a black woman talk about mastermind until her. So we always need that example. So communication is important, right? If you listen to Lisa Nichols, she has this saying. I am doing one of her speaking courses right now, and she would say, carefrontation. So care, you care. Carefrontation instead of confrontation. I am used to confrontation, communication, instead of carefrontation, communication. I care about you, like what I was telling Sammy now. I care about Sam. She has impacted my life, right? There was the other lady, what's her name again? This is not going. Who's from Africa? You know, the things that I'm telling her, I care. So I speak to her directly, right? But this is not something I am used to. My mother is the, what are you doing? Why did you do that? Cuss you out in a New York heart minute. Right, as a child, I'm not talking about as a grown-up. I'm talking about 5 years, 6 years old. Meaning, I had to know better. I should know. I'm supposed to know. There's no need for her to tell me. And she would always tell me that. Why do I have to tell you that? And this is how I saw everybody around me, men, women, grown-ups, kids, white, black, orange, purple, you name it. This is how I saw people, that they should know better. They should be better. Right? They should know what to say. They should know who to be, how to be a friend, how to be a lover. But I didn't know that I didn't know. So it is important to get into that communication journey. It is hard to do, to communicate. Like what I'm doing now is communication. What I'm saying to you is not something that I learned new. I started my spiritual journey about 8 years ago. That's when I started understanding spirituality, mental health, education. And I wanted to speak, but I didn't know that my throat chakra, which is also important, understanding your chakras, my throat chakra was blocked. Well, all my chakras were blocked. Everything was blocked. I couldn't communicate. Third eye, I couldn't think, I couldn't receive. Throat chakra, I couldn't speak. My voice, I felt constrained. I felt like I was in a box. My entire life, everything, entire chakra was just blocked, everything. But everything that I'm saying is not new to me. This is a journey I started long time ago. Read the books, did the courses, followed the teachers. Every single teacher in The Secret I followed, read the book, did their courses. Right? People that are not part of The Secret. Neuroscientists. I have a degree in psychology. That's what took me to psychology. So these are things that I knew. But I could never, ever, ever communicate. And the one reason why I couldn't communicate was because I could not communicate with the immediate people around me, which is why your environment is so important. The people that are around you, the people that you talk to, the people that you listen to. What are they doing? How do they act? How do they think? How do they be? I always felt crazy in my environment. I always say this, I always felt crazy in my environment. I have never, now I am attracting my tribe. Why? Because I'm doing the work and calling them in, right? And my tribe, let me explain to you my tribe. My tribe are people who never felt at home. People who love their parents, love their family, but they never felt at home. They never felt like they belong anywhere, right? Because look around you, wherever we go, people say, I want to retire my parents, right? I'm doing this because of my parents, right? I love my parents. People are always glorifying their parents, which is amazing, right? And I love people who can talk about their parents like that. I am in two communities, and both the owners of those communities glorify their parents. But then I had to sit down and say, what about the misfits, right? What about the people who have been ostracized? What about the people who feel like they don't have a family? What about the people who have never connected with their family? Because I know for myself growing up, I thought I was adopted. I always sat down and said, at any point, my real parents will come and pick me up. I'm getting emotional. My real parents are going to come and get me. There are people like this in the world. And I wonder who is speaking for these people. I thought my mom adopted me and my father adopted me. Even though my father was traveling, and that man, it didn't matter what I told him, he would do it. He would do anything I tell him. Even if I don't tell him, he would call me. You need some money? I said like, yeah. Like, okay, let's meet here. Come get some money. But he was emotionally unavailable. So I would attract men who would give me the world, but not give me themselves. Men has spent money on me. But I was always like, there's something that's not. I would have to tell them, listen, stop buying me stuff. Stop giving me stuff. I just need you. I want you. Like, I want to connect with you. But they could not connect with me because I wasn't connected with me, because I've never seen a man connecting with me. This is how we create our relationships, right? So there are people out there who cannot say that I love my parents, who cannot say that I love my mom, who cannot say that I love my father, because they have never. I struggle with issues from childhood and my parents as well. Yes, 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 and nobody talks to us because everybody is talking about my parents, my parents, my parents. And I'm like, it's all good, but there is majority of people outside in the world who have never connected with their parents. I have difficulty when people ask me, as a child, let me tell you a story. I look at my Heavenly Father as my dad, and I know He would play about me. No, He won't, right? No, He won't. Regardless of what you believe, God, the universe, Allah is there. That's our Father and that's our Mother. That's our Father, that's our Mother. You're Christian, you're Muslim, African spirituality, you're Hindu, you're Buddhism. These are all things that I've tapped into, right? So that's our Mother and that's our Father. Let me tell you, there's a story that I wanted to tell you. When I was growing up, you know how in school, and if you relate to this, tell me in the comments. You know how in school, I went to school in the Gambia, West Africa. I went to the best schools in the Gambia. So see, my parents did all they could, but just they couldn't give me themselves, right? I went to the best schools and the most expensive schools in the Gambia, very well educated. But in school, people would say, who is your role model? Who is your role model? My mom was same way. Nothing I did was good. Girl, everything I tell you, I know, right? So in school, me growing up, like, cause the school I grew up in wasn't a public school. I went to private school, so we had amazing activities. My first school was Ndaus Comprehensive. I love that school, right? But I was still a misfit because I was always acting out in school and nobody knew why I was acting out. And my parents would never come help me even in the school. They will not even come in the school. Right, I had to get, sometimes I'll stand outside of the school to get somebody if I needed a family, or if the principals or somebody say bring your family, right? So they would say, who is your role model in school? Or who's your role model in your life? Who do you look up to when you grow up? Who do you want to be like? People would say their father, people would say their mother. That was the beginning of my journey of feeling weird, like a weirdo, feeling out of place, feeling like I didn't belong, feeling ostracized like a misfit. Because I didn't look up to my mother. I knew. I started living with her, I think when I was 4. Because in our African society, it's very well normal for somebody to have a child, and then, you know, the sister, the auntie, or the uncle, or the grandmother would come and take the child if they don't have children at their house. Will take the child and raise them. So that's very normal. It's still a part of the family. So my auntie, my mom's younger sister, did that because she didn't have a child and she wanted children in the house. So she took me. Beautiful time there. Up until I was 4, and then my parents moved from the city to the town. So basically, let's say New York, moved from, say, Manhattan or Brooklyn, or go into Queens and the Bronx and things like that. Still middle income family. And so, you know, I knew from 5-6 years old, I do not want to be like my mother. Right? And my father was learning and traveling, and so sometimes I would say my father's my role model because he was one person that I could speak to on the phone, in person, and he would buy me all these I was a tomboy, And he was okay with it, buy me all these amazing, powerful bicycles that I loved, right? But I could never say that my parents were my role model, that I look up to my parents, that I wanted to be like them, that I wanted a relationship like them. They didn't even have a relationship. Their relationship, they lied about their relationship to me. I don't know, maybe they were ashamed of it. So that was the beginning of me feeling weird, because I'm around children, and in African schools it's like 30 kids, 40 kids, right? It's joyful to be in the classroom, but everybody's talking about how their parents is their role models, and I'm just like, ugh, I don't want to be like them. So there are people like that, and who is speaking about that? I have not seen. Well, there's this lady on TikTok that I came across who talks about, and I posted her video. It's on my Instagram and it's on my TikTok, where she made 2 videos talking about cutting your parents off. And she said something very powerful. She said that many a time we are told that when you grow up, you will understand why your parents are the way they are. And You need the people. You need the love. You need the community. And there are people who understand how you feel. You are not alone. There is a place for you in this world. That's one. The second type of people that I am calling, no matter where you're from, no matter where you live, if these videos are things that you can translate in your language, especially if you were born and raised in the continent of Africa, but wherever you are in the world too, right? If these videos are things that you can translate to put in your language and to reach more women, because the more we reach women, the more we reach men. The more we reach women, the more we reach kids. Women give life. Women are life. We are the source. Everybody was born through a woman. We need men, 100%. Nothing against men. I love men, right? But everybody was born through a woman. When we can reach women, we reach everybody. So, if this is something that you can translate in any language of yours to reach more women, women who are in the villages, women who are considered poor, women who, the underdogs. Alicia Keys has a song called The Underdogs, right? Let me find it. I should close with that. Yeah, Alicia Keys has the song and she is singing for underdogs. I should close with that song. Let's see. Underdog, Alicia Keys. We need to reach them.
The only thing stopping you from getting a major breakthrough with your tech startup concept is thinking that it's too difficult to launch.
Heard that Instagram, if you play the song for 20 minutes or so, the life will cut off. But I'm closing anyway, right? So if you relate to this, it's for you, and I'm calling you. Come. If you are an underdog, we're here for you. If you feel like a misfit, there's a place for you in the world, and we see you. We know how it feels. I know how it feels. The Girl Hold My Hand community knows how it feels, right? DM me, send me a message, send me an email. There's a link in my bio. All the products that I am using, all the communities that I am in right now that is helping me break generational courses, right? Build wealth. It's all in